Hey everybody, it's your boy EG lately, repping my Phillies gear. Go Phils in the NLCS against the Arizona Diamondbacks, and so far they've been whooping that arse, that Arizona arse. So first off, I want to say go Phils. Let's bring that one home. We have unfinished business from last season. I hope that they can pull it off. I think they'll be able to pull it off, but I'm not here to talk baseball. First off, I'd bore you. I don't know baseball. I'm not going to sit here and act like I do, but I'm very passionate about my city, the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia.
Showing people breaking into stores right in Center City, Philadelphia. Officers saying these people were not part of the protesters who were upset following a judge's dismissal.
It's always sunny in Philadelphia unless it's raining. Then it's not really sunny, is it? I want to thank everybody who's joined the channel and subscribe to me. Like, your support has been completely overwhelming. I think my last video has over 10,000 views. Now you're talking to a guy who literally used to get stoked if I had 2 comments on a YouTube video. So this is new territory for me. I don't know how the algorithm works. I don't even know if this video is going to get picked up or if anybody's even going to watch it. But if you do, welcome to the channel, and I'm gonna try to continue to give you what you want. And it seems like you guys like when I give you guys my opinions on things, which I don't know why. I'm a boring guy in my opinion. I think I'm just a big old snooze fest. I'm like Shane with the sunglasses, man. What's up? I'm Shane, and welcome to the Transparency Podcast. I kid. But today I'm going to do a little bit of a different topic. I'm going to take a step away from the LGBTQ trans arguments that kind of got my fire started here, which is funny because I'm just a cisgendered white dude who lives in the northeast of America. White man. I mean, granted, Philadelphia, in my opinion, is one of the greatest cities in the world. Unfortunately, right now, it is a total mess, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Heading back to what I was talking about today, I'm going to talk about how I kind of arrived at where I am politically in my mind, which kind of helped shape my views a little bit. Well, actually, it didn't shape my views. I think the way the world moved is how my views kind of went with them, if that makes sense. Like, I live by typical old-fashioned principles, right? You know, be kind, treat the golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. For the most part, I try to be respectful in all of my communications with people. Like Martin Luther King says, judge a man not by the color of his skin, but by the content of his character. And I still think that rings true. I still think that that is something that we should value today. The media would have you fight with your black neighbor. Why? Because I don't know why. They just like stirring up crap. I don't understand why we can't all get along. And for me, being somebody who leans to the right, I feel like we need more voices to counteract all the misinformation that is out there about conservatives and what we're actually about. We're not all bigots. We're not all racist. Are there some in our party? Sure. There's bad apples in every party. No matter what party you go to, you're going to find a couple bad apples. But those bad apples should not sum up who we are as people. So today I'm going to kind of just talk about like how I ended up where I am in my mindset, like a tell-all about who I am, what I'm about, and how I ended up feeling the way I do about things. You know, if you guys are going to take time out of your day to come and listen to me speak, like, I would at least like to give you guys an idea of who I am and what I'm about. Basically, this is going to be like a why I left the left type of argument. So I think a good spot to start would be like, why was I a liberal in the first place? Like, I was raised conservative, so at one point I left the right to go to the left.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
And I feel like I need to break down why that is, what I thought they represented. For a while, they did represent this, all the way up until probably maybe Obama is where I kind of started being like, what's going on? Like, I voted for Obama twice. I thought he was a well-spoken man. I thought he tried his best. I still think that Obamacare is a good thing. But mostly what it comes down to is the American dream. Right. I grew up, I have 2 neighbors on both sides of me that were immigrants. And one's from Argentina, the other's from Italy. And they were just the greatest people. And I always loved the fact that they were immigrants. And I felt like it was my duty to help more people be able to come and achieve that dream. You know, as a youngster, they always say, if you're young and not a liberal, you have no heart. If you're old and not a conservative, you have no brain. And I think that rings true because when you're young, you want to get out there and you want to change the world and you want to make a difference. So I felt like the best thing that I could do was be on the side that preached acceptance for all, right? I felt like the Democrats were all about the American dream, and the Republicans were about tightening up your bootstraps. Let's get to work. It was much more of a roughneck type of crowd, and I always kind of like, as like a growing up, I was a very artistic kid. I was very creative. I was a theater kid. So I always wanted to make sure that I was expressing myself in some way or another. So of course, like the Liberal Party was like the place that I'd want to go find that. I felt like they were on the right side of history. I felt like they were the ones who were out there preaching the good word of love and acceptance and, love thy neighbor. And I also liked the fact that they wanted to have Medicare. They wanted to make sure that everybody could go to a doctor who wanted to go see them. I thought Obamacare was a great thing. I thought that union workers were a good thing. I thought that, going in and being part of a union so that your corrupt company couldn't take over, couldn't abuse their power. For me, it was just like really important to make sure that I was preaching the word of acceptance for all, love and compassion for everybody, Did I ever hate conservatives? Absolutely not. I never hated conservatives, but I also feel like that's a fairly new idea. Then I kind of started seeing some trouble. I saw Antifa come to life. At first I was like, oh yeah, you know what? They're fighting Nazis. Like, this is a good thing, right? Until everybody who disagreed with them started becoming a Nazi. And then I was kind of like, that guy doesn't seem like a Nazi. Why are you throwing an empty beer bottle at his head? Like, that didn't make sense to me. Why are you telling all these people who I can clearly see aren't racist? Why are you calling them racist? It was just a lot of things that kind of made me start thinking, like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It doesn't pass the sniff test. I thought the BLM, they had a noble cause, and we'll get into that later. Like, I was like, you know what? I love black folks. I want to make sure that they're being treated fairly, right? That's what you as a liberal person think that you are representing. Until notion of everybody who was a conservative was racist all of a sudden. And I knew plenty of conservatives who were clearly not racist. So that was another thing that kind of made me start scratching my head, making me think, maybe this isn't making a whole lot of sense to me. And this is just like the beginning. This is just where I'm kind of just like, I was still kind of sticking up for liberal ideas. I was kind of like, I was like, it's just a misunderstanding. I'm sure these Antifa guys think that they're helping. And then the violence started. All the violence, the rioting from BLM. What does destroying our own country help us with? It doesn't seem like it's helping us with anything. All you're doing is burning down businesses. Some of them were black owned. A former cop was killed, a black man. Black Lives Matter. The hypocrisy just started becoming overwhelmingly clear in the Liberal Party. Now, again, I'm only using liberal in the sense of the word for what I'm saying, because I feel like there's your classical liberal and then you have your woke liberal, and they are completely two different things. And honestly, like, this is just my opinion, but I feel like classic liberals have more in common with conservatives now than they do with the woke liberal part of their party. So we got the riots in the streets that I'm kind of like, well, this isn't cool. Like, how is this helping? How is this helping setting things on fire, destroying police precincts, flipping cop cars? How is that helping us achieve anything good for our country? So that's like one thing that kind of started making me like scratch my head, being like, wait a minute, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, this, it's not matching up. The math is not mathing, if you will. I don't understand what stealing, some Jordans has to do with fighting for racial inequality. It just didn't make sense to me. Now, granted, I'm a white man. So, you could say that I'm wrong and I'm missing the whole point. And I understand that people are like, oh, well, those people needed it. But I don't think they did. I think that they were just opportunistic people who could give two craps about what BLM was trying to achieve, and went into a store and saw an opportunity to get some free sneakers. And most of those people weren't even from the cities that these things were taking place in.
Police stressing that those we're seeing doing these acts, not necessarily a part of the protest from earlier.
So that's another thing that kind of made me go, you know what? This isn't making a whole lot of sense. And then Biden takes office, right? So Biden takes office, and I'm like, Trump was doing great. The economy was good. But you know what? I don't like the whole tweeting thing. It just seems a little reckless for me because it was new for a president. So at the time, I thought, maybe getting a regular politician back in office would probably be a good idea so we can kind of get back to a sense of normalcy. There was rioting every day. People were scared for their life. So we thought maybe if I just voted Biden, maybe the riots would stop. Right? The riots didn't stop once Biden got into office. They still happen. Of course, we know we had January 6th take place, and by no means do I feel like that was the right move either. It was the first time we had mail-in ballots. It was a new idea, so I feel like a lot of conservatives felt like that something shady was taking place, and I'm not here to say election was rigged, but to say that there was zero election fraud at all, I mean, you can't say that because you don't know who's running those polling places. Do I feel like it was enough to affect the overall voting? No, because I feel like at the time, a lot of people felt like I did and just didn't realize, first off, how far gone Biden was. They must have had that guy methed up to the ceiling because when he debated to when he got into office, it was just like night and day. They must have been like, here, Joe, take this drink. It's only got half a glass of methadone in it and meth. So you'll stay calm, but you'll also be sharp and awake for this debate. I mean, when you think about it, though, we didn't, like anybody else, like I feel like anybody on the left could have beaten Trump for the simple fact that people were more eager to vote against Trump than they were for voting for Joe Biden. It's not like people were stoked that Joe Biden was there. I think like most liberals wanted Bernie, and honestly, like I liked Bernie. I was like this sweet old man just wants to make sure that everybody's taken care of. Till I kind of dived deeper and started realizing what socialism actually is. Then I kind of was like, okay, you know what? Maybe that's not the best case scenario. I feel like deep in my heart, I am a traditional American. I believe in hard work. I believe in working what you get. People shouldn't be paying for you if you're just laying on the couch all day. Unless you have a legitimate excuse for why you cannot work, I feel like there should be no reason why people should just be able to coast by, going day to day, doing whatever the hell they want while the rest of us have to go off and work. I don't feel like that's fair. So that's another thing, right? So all this stuff's going on. And then we got COVID roll in, right? COVID rolled in during the end of Trump's presidency, but I felt like I watched a bunch of Democrats say, especially people like Kamala Harris, when Trump was trying to get the vaccine pushed through and create it, Kamala was like, I will not take that man's shot.
Donald Trump tells us that we should take it. I'm not taking it.
Then all of a sudden Biden wins, and then they get up on stage behind the podium and they're like, get the shot, get the shot. And I'm like, wait a minute, I thought you just said that you didn't want to get that shot. You were not going to take that man's shot. Now you're out here telling me I need to take it. So another thing, there you go. All right, light bulb goes off. Maybe there's a little more going on here than I thought. So, I mean, we could jump into that. I'm watching CNN say that Joe Rogan's promoting horse dewormer, which, if you dive even just a little bit deep into ivermectin, you'll know that it's like a Nobel Prize winning medication. So that being forced down my throat, it was just like the math again is not mathing. Like, what is going on here? Like, how is that okay to just do hit pieces on people? Not for anything else. Joe Rogan was trying to help people by talking about what drug helped him get over COVID. Now, am I going to say that it was definitely right? I don't know. I'm not someone who is a vaccine genius. These are just things that I'm seeing with my eyes, my own two eyes, where I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense to me that I just watched Kamala Harris say she would never take Trump's shot. She gets in the office. Now she's telling me I need to take this shot, which, granted, I'm coming out of being a drug addict for like 10 years. So before that, I could care less what was going on. I could care less. I was just trying to get, my fix. So this is like when, and I was like a liberal during all that, but of course I was a drug addict, right? I wanted that free money. It made sense for me to go be a liberal and want that free money. I wanted that welfare. I wanted food stamps, right? Because I couldn't take care of myself because I kept getting fired from every job that I had because I was a drug abuser. Fast forward 3 years now, I'm sitting here. I work 3 jobs, including YouTube, trying to make sure that I could buy a house for my child. I want to be able to put a roof on the head of my child, and I want to make sure that I'm doing the best I can. So I'm literally working 3 jobs. I work a part-time job, I work a full-time job, and I'm trying to do this YouTube thing. you know, if you guys like these videos, like and share them, because the faster we can build this channel, the more videos I can make for you guys. Right now, I'm just trying to squeeze in stuff as where I can because I work so much. But, you know, I just want to say if I can do it, then anybody can do it. Plus, I look at people like Hassan Piker and I'm like, dude, this dude is a nitwit. How has he got this many followers? I was like, if he could do it, I could do it.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
You know, I watch XQC. I'm like, these guys are making millions of dollars, and I can't even understand a word XQC says during his streams, but he makes millions of dollars just playing other people's videos. So of course it's easy for me to sit here and be like, well, maybe I should give YouTube a shot. Like if this guy can figure it out and Hassan can figure it out, why can't I figure it out, right? And I also started listening to voices in the conservative market. I started listening to Ben Shapiro, and I feel like everything Ben Shapiro was saying just started making a whole lot of sense to me. You know, I listen to people like Blaire White, and I'm like, wait a minute, like this makes more sense to me. And then it's easy to distinct what side is making more sense when you watch things like conservative trans versus liberal trans, and you can see right away that the liberals are just speaking with nothing but emotion and anger, where the conservative trans people were trying to come from a place of logic. I like to think of myself as a guy who comes from a place of logic and understanding. I'm always trying to crave new information and knowledge. I'm trying to learn, right? I'm trying to grow my mind. Obviously, I don't know everything. I'm simply a guy just trying to find out what's best for what's going on around me. And on base level view, from what I see, it's pretty clear to me that right now the conservatives seem to have a better plan for our country than the liberals do. But we're going to get to that. Let's jump back into like where I was like when I started seeing trouble from the left. And another big thing was that like people who wore like All Lives Matter shirts, which, right, if you're any kind of moral person, you would agree that all lives matter, right? But if you wore an All Lives Matter shirt near somebody who was in the BLM, they would assault you, or they would throw things at you, or shout you down to make you leave. And in my head, I was thinking, I thought the liberals were like the peaceful, acceptful ones. Like I thought we were the ones who were like, hey man, it doesn't, if that makes you happy, we're cool. And all of a sudden, it wasn't like that anymore. It was people like just getting angry and hateful, and like, I don't understand what's wrong with people thinking that all lives matter, because they do. And people were like, yeah, all lives matter, but right now we're worried about the black ones. It's like, well, wouldn't that be under the umbrella of all lives matter? Like, you're still saying to people, I care about everybody. I care about everyone I see, not just black folks. That includes black folks. Like, I care about them too, right? We're at the point now where it's just like, if you wear anything that is not what is the status quo, like, you're going to get crapped on by whoever's around you. And this is like when I'm like really kind of like, oh man, this is really kind of like, this is getting twisted now. Like I don't know if I agree with this. And this is like I'm starting to get things planted in my brain. I'm like, well, all right, let me go see what the other side has to say. You know, I was watching CNN, I was watching MSNBC. I was like, oh, you know, let me go see what Fox News has to say. Now, I'll tell you, Fox News, I'm not a big fan of Fox News. I mean, I feel like they're also part of the problem, where they're just kind of like saying things to gain a reaction. Then I resorted to watching people like Ben Shapiro. Now, Ben Shapiro, I think, approaches everything from a level-headed point of view. I've watched him debate. I forget what the girl's name is from the Young Turks, and he was very respectful. He made sure that he had nice things to say about her. They had differences of opinions, but I always saw him being polite to him. Now, he might look like he's a bit of a hostile guy.
You have to understand just how intimidating I am.
For the most part, like, everything he said to me seemed like it was making sense, and he was pointing out hypocrisies. He was showing receipts. He was showing reasons why he's right. And that kind of started making me really kind of start to question, like, where I was standing, if it made sense. You know, we would never treat people like that until I saw, like, the looting start, right? The looting starts. And now I'm, like, back to, oh my God, dude. I can't imagine either how hard it is being a cop these days, where before it was just like somebody pulls a gun on you, you pop, you end him down. You know, say it was him or me, right? But now you have to, when that cop's going to pull that gun and the other guy's going to pull that gun, now, granted, I don't think any cop should kill anybody unless it's absolutely the last resort. if you've gone through your taser and you've gone through whatever else, whatever else the cops carry on them. I don't know. I never was a cop. But those are the types of things where I feel like, yeah, a cop should be pulling his gun as a last resort, you know, because life is precious is what I'm trying to say. Life is precious, and everybody deserves a chance to live, and everybody deserves a chance to represent themselves in a courtroom. Now, here we go, right? So now we're going to cancel culture, right? So here's where I kind of really started being like, this ain't right, man. I know, I remember a story of a guy who was driving home, and he was just sitting in his car. He's a Hispanic fella, right? And he was doing this. He was doing this out his window, right? And if you watch him, he said he used to just do this while he was waiting on the car ride home, right? Now, I don't know if this guy cut somebody else off or whatnot, but this was like his little nervous tick that he used to do to comfort himself while he was driving home. Someone took a picture of him going like this, right? And apparently this all of a sudden is a white power sign, which I've never heard of. This used to be a game that we used to play where I'd hold it down like here, right? If you looked at it, right, and you didn't get your finger through the hole, I could punch you in the arm, not in the face. And then you get 2 for flinching. Like, this is the stuff that we grew up with. So I still see people going around going like this all the time. I've never once ever heard it associated as a white power thing, right? So this poor guy gets fired from his job. Now he's left not being able to support his family, all because of a misunderstanding with the way that he was doing this on the ride home. I don't know if he cut the guy off who took the picture or what, but this guy wanted him to pay, and he did pay. He ended up getting fired. You know, I can't imagine how horrible that is for him and his family to find out you're getting fired because you were doing this on your ride home in your car, and you were in a business truck, so everything was right on the side.
I don't know how long it's gonna take me to get over this, but to lose your dream job for playing with your fingers, that's a hard pill to swallow.
And I start seeing more cancel culture, right? I start seeing more people losing their voice because if you disagree with anything that comes out of the liberal narrative, all of a sudden, like, you're not allowed to be platformed anymore. You know, you shouldn't be allowed to go up and say very ignorant things to people. I think that's pretty morally unethical. But for the most part, I think freedom of speech is the First Amendment because it is the most important one. It's the one that says, hey, if you see something wrong, speak up. Right? If you see something wrong, speak up. All of a sudden, that was a problem now. All of a sudden, like, you know, it seemed like the left had a real big problem with freedom of speech. Like, you were associating the First Amendment with white supremacy. We were ripping down statues of George Washington and ripping down statues of, I think they did rip down one of Abraham Lincoln, which doesn't make sense to me at all because he's the reason that, you know, slavery was ended. Republican, by the way. It just kind of didn't make sense to me. And then I started seeing like Democrats starting to use black folks to propel their votes. They were using them as a tool more than like a people. You know what I mean? Like, they were pandering to the black vote, which last time I checked, like, Americans are all different colors, right? Like, some of us look like we're Asian. Some of us look like we're African. Some of us look like we're European. Some of us look like we're Hispanic. You know, some of us look like we were here the whole time, Native Americans. So when all that started happening, I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, all of a sudden, now I'm seeing a lot of anti-white propaganda on TV, and I'm just like, I don't know if I can get behind this anymore. Like, this, what MSNBC is saying is just straight up racist. Like, you're basically blaming every single issue that's going on in the country on white people.
Many of us have seen the dangers when powerful white people decide they want something, they annex it. And they've never had a problem replacing the people who stand in their way.
We see American white people are going crazy. They're resorting to violence.
This is literally what conservative white folks do when they don't get their way. They turn violent.
White people deputizing themselves in some position of authority to have jurisdiction over their life when they need to mind their blanking business.
Matt Gaetz is giving the white folks what they want.
White replacement can strangle culture. So yes, we should all be concerned about white replacement. It is, after all, a very threat to our survival here.
Like, I'm obviously, clearly I'm a white man. And I was like, I never did anything to anybody. Like, I've never owned a slave. I've never done anything wrong. It doesn't make sense to me that we're sitting here and we're attacking people for just the way they look. I thought this was the whole point of what BLM was fighting for, was not to pass judgment on someone you don't know. Like, wasn't this the whole reason why BLM was marching? Because of stereotypes, and now all of a sudden I'm being stereotyped because I'm a cis white man? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So the math just stops mathing. And then, you know, the one thing I've learned about liberals is that it's easy for them to point fingers and say, you're not welcome here anymore. You are not a part of our club. I don't like what you have to say about a topic that doesn't fit my narrative, so I am not going to talk to you anymore. I started losing friends. And then the lies started coming out, right? You got Karine Jean-Pierre, who's just an absolute gaslighting machine.
You haven't called on me in 2 seasons, Karine.
And not calling on you today. Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
You should be ashamed
Go
of
ahead.
that.
Go ahead.
That shows
Go ahead.
disrespect to a free and
Go
independent
ahead.
media. It's a black
I'm
press,
gonna
one of our
close.
country's largest and most widely.
She's hired not because of her qualifications. She's hired because, you know, she's a gay black woman.
Historic administration. I'm a historic figure, and I certainly walk in history every day. But
now, don't get me wrong. I'm happy to see, you know, a black press secretary. I have no issues with that. But when you're proudly proclaiming, hey, you know, what's it like to be the first black press secretary who's also gay? You know, maybe you're starting to be like, wait a minute, like, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, was she qualified? Like, I mean, the first woman wasn't. I don't really agree with a lot of what she said either, but, you know, at least she could talk. You know, Karine Jean-Pierre just always says, I'll address that later. I'll address that later. Top of mind. Top of mind. Now, granted, I can't even begin to imagine how hard it is to be Joe Biden's press secretary, because that guy just F's up left and right. My favorite quote from him is this one.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him
right? How do you defend that guy? You're like an elderly translator. That's what you are. You're trying to translate the words of an elderly man. I also love that, like, Joe Biden's clearly not running the country. There's no way he's running the country right now.
There's nothing like seeing the light. Let's see. I'm just following my orders here.
He's being cut off mid-speech.
It wasn't confrontational at all.
Thank you, everybody. This ends the press conference. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
The last time I checked, the president was in charge. Am I right? Like, why is the president of the United States being cut off mid-speech like he's finishing an Oscar speech? It doesn't make sense to me. So these are all things that are starting to just kind of rattle around in my brain, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Am I the only one seeing this? Am I the only, you know, aside from the entire conservative side who's seeing this stuff, am I the only one on the liberal side that's seeing all these things? And then, you know, we get to the point where the midterm elections come around, right? And you got Joe Biden standing up there saying that the biggest threat to America is MAGA Republicans.
That is a threat to this country. MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards to an America where there is no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love. They promote authoritarian leaders, and they fan the flames of political violence that are a threat to our personal rights.
And I was just like, wait a minute, I thought the biggest threat to America was terrorism, which it clearly still is. And we have open borders and everybody's just flooding in.
Tonight, the border crisis up close. Our cameras there as this group of hundreds of migrants illegally crossed the Rio Grande into Eagle Pass, Texas.
These are all things that are happening right now, but this is like stuff that I was thinking about beforehand. And then, you know, you start seeing people who've been lifelong friends not talking anymore because the media tells them that conservatives are racists and they're anti-Semites, which clearly is not the case, because I see so many conservatives defending what's going on in Israel right now from Hamas, and I see Democrats screaming that Hamas, you know, has a right to do this, which, first off, wow, how do you even take that stance and with a straight face and tell me that it's okay? Secondly, ew, like, you're the people who are supposed to be sticking up for the LGBTQ, right? You realize that Hamas would make them want to just straight up murk anybody who disagrees with the words of Allah. It's written in their Bible, their Quran. In my head, the wheels are starting to turn, you know? I'm starting to be like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Like, what they're saying over there, that across the aisle, that makes sense to me. But what you guys are saying here doesn't make sense. And all of a sudden you get, like, if you bring up any of this in their little echo chambers they have themselves, you start getting, like, attacked immediately. Oh, you're a bigot. Don't talk to me ever again. Like, I love people. I don't want anybody to want to not talk to me anymore because of my political views. Like 2 years ago, you could care less if I voted for George Bush. It meant nothing to you. Now all of a sudden, it's going to end our friendship, our lifelong friendship. So in my heart, like, I'm starting to be like, I don't think that I can defend this anymore. This is indefensible stuff that's taking place going on here. And that's when my mind starts being like, you know what? I need to go and start listening to some of the conservatives, because I gotta see, man. I just gotta see if they're making any more sense over where they're standing. Now, it's easy for me to say that because I'm a white man. You know, heterosexual white man, he's going to be a conservative, right? But it goes much deeper than that. I was starting to work hard for my money, and I was not liking the idea of getting it taken through taxes. For the first time in my life, I don't make shit, right? I work 2 jobs because I don't make a whole lot at my regular job. But they still made me pay taxes at the end of the year this year. First time in my life I've ever had to pay taxes because they said I made too much money. Mind you, I make under $40,000 a year. Right? I make under $40,000 a year. I don't know whether or not I should be saying that or not. I don't really give a because it just pisses me off. You're going to make me pay taxes and not make other people who are making like a quadrillion times more than me. It was just like, this doesn't make sense, dude. Like, what is happening to our country right now? Then, you know, you see pictures of the border, and the border just has hundreds of illegal immigrants just coming in. And now when you see what's going on in Israel with Hamas, there's a good portion of them that came from Iran. And they're the ones who fund Hamas. So this is scary now, because those people, like my city, Philadelphia, is it's a sanctuary city. So there's tons of them. Like, now all of a sudden this is hitting home. And I'm scared. Like, I have kids. I don't want anything bad to happen to them. I don't want to have to kill someone in defense of my child. Like, I will defend my child. You best believe I'll defend my child to the day I die. And if I have to take someone out to defend them, I will. But I don't want to. Like, I don't want to do that. And it comes back to everybody who disagrees with us is a racist. Everybody who disagrees with us is a fascist. Everybody who disagrees with us is an anti-Semite. Like, these are just used over and over again. Just beating your brain down with that. Like, you're a fascist, and you're a fascist, and you're a fascist, and you're a Wait, are you a fascist? I don't think you are. You want to know how I know? Because nobody's a freaking Nazi nowadays. Like, that just doesn't exist. Okay, well, there's small rings, like there's still skinheads and stuff that are Nazis. You want to know who the real Nazis are? People like AOC, who called for a ceasefire the second that Hamas went in there and just started murdering Israeli children and citizens. To call for a ceasefire, that's like me walking up to you, punching you in the face, and then being like, whoa, let's be cool, man. Like, let's be cool. You know, let's have a ceasefire. I know I just slugged you for no reason whatsoever, but let's just try and bury the hatchet. Now, I know that the Middle East conflict between Israel and Palestine is very complex, but I can't look at those videos that I saw and have any sympathy for people who could do something like that. I'm sorry, I just can't. Maybe that's the new conservative in me or whatever, but I can't look at that and have any defensible reason for that. I don't care what the situation was. You don't go kill citizens. You don't kill people at a peace concert and get away with it. Like, that to me is just abhorrent, and it's indefensible. We don't even talk about the social media censorship that takes place, like the Hunter Biden laptop, all that stuff. Clear as day, there was a laptop, right? And most people probably wouldn't have supported Joe Biden if they knew that he was getting kickbacks from his son. Now, allegedly, that hasn't been confirmed yet, but all signs point to Joe Biden being the big guy. That was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, right? Losing friends. Don't even get me started on this lunatic here. Check this out. And you're telling me that I'm supposed to follow that guy? That's the side I want to be on? Are you kidding me? First off, it's lame as hell. All right, what are we, kindergartners? Secondly, it's gross, dude. It's gross because, you know, I'm going to admit I was vaccinated. It doesn't matter. Like, I didn't do boosters. I did the first vaccination. And then I feel like if I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have gotten it, right? But you have people like this Nimrod on TV doing God knows what with these little songs and dances sponsored probably by Pfizer, which brings me to my next thing. This video is sponsored by Pfizer. I'm just kidding. I'm still not sponsored by Pfizer. Like, that's that big money I'm trying to get. Listen, Pfizer, you come and support me, throw me a couple $1 million. Maybe I'll corporate shill for you like Stephen Colbert, but I will not dance. I'm just kidding. I would never do that. I could never do that, right? But I don't know how Stephen Colbert does something like that and then sleeps soundly at night. That is by far the cringiest thing I've ever seen in my life. The cringiest. People are literally dying from this, and you're gonna do a song and dance about the vaccine that doesn't even work. Like, it didn't even work. If it worked so great, why are people still getting COVID after they got it? Like, it doesn't make sense. I honestly thought this was gonna be a short video, but it's not, man. Apparently I got a lot to say on this topic. So these are all reasons why I've gone to the conservative side. Not to mention, right, the whole BLM movement, right? So Candace Owens has a great documentary called The Greatest Lie Ever Told, right? Where the leaders of the Black Lives Matter organizations, the one that were in charge of taking in all those donations that the Hollywood elites and every Hollywood elites donated to their cause, they just took it. They were just like, you know what? This is ours now. We're going to pocket it. We're going to go buy some mansions. So they didn't even give it to the black communities that BLM was designed to do. So how can I get behind that? How can I support that? It's clearly like just complete false, fake BS. And shame on all of them, because imagine the help they could have given inner cities with that money. Like, your movement meant nothing. You were hollow. You used it as a platform to pay yourselves and then move on and checked out. I think it's like either 90 million or 90 billion dollars that they accrued throughout that whole process. But what really, and this is going to be like the straw, this is definitely the straw that broke the camel's back. I was a huge Marvel movie fan. I was like, I used to research like phase 4, what's coming out. I'm so excited. Oh my God, like on the edge of my seat, like I can't wait. I need to see this superhero. I need to see him in a movie. Like, I'd count down the days. Like, I'd do research on what's coming out regarding Marvel. I was a huge comic book nerd, superheroes. I loved it all. And then Black Widow comes out, and I think that was the beginning of the end for the Marvel Universe, where they gender change Taskmaster, but they dress her up like a man. And then it's a big reveal that she's a woman. And then that's like where the wokeness kind of started infecting all the movies that I cared deeply about. And honestly, it's gotten to the point where it's unwatchable now. I didn't have a problem with Captain America the miniseries because I felt like it was fine. You know, I felt like Sam's a great Captain America. I think it's awesome having a black man as Captain America. Why not? You know, the new Snow White that just came out, the number one thing that the girl who played Snow White was like proclaiming is no man's coming to save her. There's definitely no man. Why can't Disney make new fairy tales that are geared towards black women? Why do they have to take old classics and change them? Like, I don't understand. Like, what is that point proving? You know, like, it doesn't seem like it makes sense. It seems like you're just pandering at this point. Create a new Little Mermaid. You know, I'm sure Ariel could have had a stepsister that was a black girl who went on a journey herself. You know, why does it have to be Ariel? It's all stuff like this that's starting to make me feel like it's being force-fed down my throat, and I can't take it anymore. Like, I'm gonna break. This is why I'm probably actually like a libertarian. All I've ever wanted was for people to be able to live their lives the way that they want, right? Without having things shoved down their fucking throat. Like, I don't need a whole lot, right? As long as you're being respectful and kind and sharing love with people and at least taking the time to understand where they're coming from. Like, I don't really think that it's got to be shoved down your throat. And I definitely don't think that the anti-white propaganda is being helpful at all. All you're doing, pointing the finger and say, hey, you know, all that anger you're feeling, gear it towards them. Because those are the ones who need it geared towards them. And I just could not get behind that. It's just too much. I don't think racism should exist whatsoever. I don't care what form it's in. I don't think that a black person being racist towards a Caucasian person is any different than a Caucasian person being racist towards a black person. Does America have a checkered past? Hell yeah, it does. But name one country that does it. And the one thing I love about America is that it's constantly trying to improve. It is constantly trying to do better than it did before. And I just don't feel like, well, at least I felt like it did, letting in whoever wants to come here. I'm all for immigration, right? I told you about my immigrant neighbors. I'm all for immigration. but do it the right way. How do you think the people who are sitting there legally waiting to have their citizenship granted to them feels about the border just being opened and being like, come on in, guys? You can't sustain a society that way. It's just overwhelming, and you're destroying the resources for the people who already are here who are suffering. And I don't see any Democrats condemning that. They can't, because it doesn't fit their narrative. The one thing I'll give conservatives is they'll call out bullcrap in their own party if they don't like it. They'll talk about it, and then they'll come up with a resolution. On the other side, it's not like that. It's either agree with me or you're shunned. It's like they're the Amish, right? You either agree with me or you're out. Well, anyway, guys, like, I just wanted to kind of like jump in here, throw something up. Like I said, like, I don't have like a whole lot of time to make like deep dive videos. I'm going to try to consistently keep putting out stuff. It could be like this. If you enjoyed a video like this where you just hear me kind of talk about topics, I have no problem doing that either. I would love to do like some deep dive videos where I take on like a certain topic and really kind of like break it down in the future. Like, that would be cool to me. Like something like I want to do a video on Reckless Ben and McCamey Manor. I think what he's doing over there is absolutely awesome, and I'll probably have some big news regarding myself coming up in the future. But anyway, with that said, guys, like, I just all the support you guys have shown me. Like, I know I'm still super small. I'm under 1,000 subscribers, but you guys are like racking up that view count, and to me, like, that is just like, wow, like, I can't believe it. Like, me, like, I'm a nobody. Who the hell am I? All I can do is share my perspective with you guys and let you decide whether or not it makes sense to you or not. I don't expect everybody to agree with every single thing I said. I'm not trying to be that guy. What I can do is tell you what my viewpoints are on that, and it's up to you guys whether or not you want to agree. With that said, go Phillies, right? And take care of yourselves, love yourself, and I'll see you next time.